Hare Krishna, everyone. So we're continuing with the book called The Path of Perfection by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is chapter 1, Yoga as Action. And yes, we're Shravanam Diaries podcast. I'm your host Sulalita Devidasi. So, starting page 1. In the 6th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad-gītā, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, explains that the eightfold yoga system is a means to control the mind and senses. This method, however, is very difficult for people to perform, especially in this age of Kali, an age characterized by ignorance and chaos. Although this eightfold yoga system is particularly recommended in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, the Lord emphasizes that the process of karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, is superior. In this world, everyone acts to maintain his family, and everyone is working with a view to some self-interest or personal sense gratification, be it concentrated or extended. But to act perfectly is to act in Krishna consciousness, and this means acting detached from the fruits of labor. It is our duty to act in Krishna consciousness because we are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the entire body, not for the individual parts. The goal is the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity should act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and not for his own personal satisfaction. One who can do this is the perfect sannyasi and the perfect yogi. In the first verse of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, the chapter dealing with Sankhya Yoga, Bhagavan Śrī Kṛṣṇa states, Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yah sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. Quote, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obliged is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. Unquote. Sometimes sannyasis, renunciates, incorrectly think that they have become liberated from all material engagements and therefore no longer have to perform Agnihotra yagyas or fire sacrifices. This is a mistake. Certain yagyas, sacrifices, have to be performed by everyone for purification. Since sannyasis are not traditionally required to perform yagyas, they sometimes think that they can attain liberation by ceasing to perform the ritualistic yagyas. But actually, unless one comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, there is no question of liberation. Those sannyasis who cease to perform yagyas are in fact acting out of self-interest, because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. That is the ultimate goal of the impersonalists, Mayavadis, who have one major goal or demand: to become one with the Supreme Impersonal Being. The devotees have no such demands. They are simply satisfied in serving Krishna for the satisfaction of Krishna. They do not want anything in return. That is the characteristic of pure devotion. It was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who expressed this devotional attitude so succinctly. Nadanam najanam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahaituki tvai. CC Antya 2021, 20.21, Shikshashtaka number 4. Quote, O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want is only the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Shikshashtaka 4. In essence, this is the Bhakti Yoga system. There are many examples of the pure, devotional attitude. Once, Lord Nrisimhadev told Prahlada Maharaj, My dear boy, you have suffered so much for me. Whatever you want, ask for it. Being a pure devotee, Prahlada Maharaj refused to ask for anything. He said, My dear master, I am not carrying out mercantile business with you. I will not accept any remuneration for my service. This is the pure devotional attitude. Yogis and Gyanis are demanding to become one with the Supreme because they have such bitter experience suffering the material pangs. They want to become one with the Lord because they're suffering in separation. A pure devotee, however, does not experience this. Although separate from the Lord, he fully enjoys the service of the Lord in separation. The desire to become one with the impersonal Brahman or to merge with God is certainly greater than any material desire, but this is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half-open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. Such yogis are desirous of material power, and that is their conception of the perfection of yoga. Actually, this is not the perfection of yoga, but a materialistic process. If one practices the regulative principles of yoga, he can attain 8 kinds of perfection. He can become lighter than a cotton swab. He can become heavier than a great stone. He can immediately get whatever he likes. Sometimes he can even create a planet. Although rare, such powerful yogis actually exist. Vishvamitra yogi wanted to beget a man from a palm tree. He was thinking, why should a man have to live so many months within the womb of his mother? Why can't he be produced just like a fruit? Thinking like this, Vishvamitra yogi produced man-like coconuts. Sometimes yogis are so powerful, they can perform such acts. But these are all material powers. Ultimately, such yogis are vanquished because they cannot retain these material powers indefinitely. Bhakti yogis are not interested in such powers. The Bhakti yogi acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person does not desire self-satisfaction. Rather, his criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, he is considered the perfect sannyasi and the perfect yogi. A pure devotee does not even want salvation. The salvationists want to be saved from rebirth, and the voidists also want to put an end to all material life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, requested only devotional service to Lord Krishna, birth after birth. In other words, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was prepared to endure material miseries in one body after another. What then was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire? He wanted to engage in God's service and nothing more, for that is the real perfection of yoga. Whether in the spiritual sky or the material sky, the individual spirit soul is constitutionally the same. It is said that he is 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. This means that our position is that of a small particle. But spirit can expand. Just as we develop a material body in the material world, we develop a spiritual body in the spiritual world. In the material world, expansion takes place in contact with matter. In the spiritual world, this expansion is spiritual. Actually, the first lesson of Bhagavad-gītā is, quote, "I am spirit soul. I am different from this body," unquote. I am a living force, but this material body is not a living force. It is dull matter, and it is activated only because spiritual force is present. In the spiritual world, everything is living force. There is no dead matter. There, the body is totally spiritual. One may compare the spirit soul with oil and the body with water. When oil is in water, there is a distinction, and that distinction always remains. In the spiritual sky, there is no question of oil being replaced or being placed in water. There, everything is spirit. The impersonalists do not want to develop a body. They simply want to remain spiritual particles, and that is their idea of happiness. But we, Bhakti Yogis, Vaishnavas, want to serve Krishna, and therefore we require hands, legs, and all the other bodily parts. Indeed, we are given these bodies in order to serve Krishna. Just as we develop a material body in our mother's womb, we can similarly develop a spiritual body in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada is just giving everything at the... This is what I always appreciate about Srila Prabhupada. He will give you something very elementary, but he will never hide or be shy to talk about something super, how do you say, advanced as well. Advanced. The spiritual body is developed through the practice of Krishna consciousness. This material body is spiritualized by this practice of Bhakti Yoga process. If you place an iron within fire, the iron becomes so hot that it also becomes fiery. When the iron is red hot, it acquires all the qualities of fire. If you touch something with that iron will act as fire. Similarly, although this body is material, it can become spiritualized through Krishna consciousness and act as spirit. Although copper is just a metal, as soon as it comes in contact with electricity, it becomes electrified, and if you touch it, you will receive an electric shock. As soon as your body is spiritualized, material activity ceases. Material activity means acting for sense gratification. As you become spiritualized, material demands dwindle until they become nil. How is this possible? In order for an iron to act as fire, it must remain constantly in contact with fire. In order for the material body to become spiritualized, one must remain constantly in Krishna consciousness. When this material body is fully engaged in spiritual activities, it becomes spiritual. According to the Vedic system, the body of a high personality, a sannyasi, is not burned but buried, because a sannyasi's body is considered spiritual, having ceased to engage in material activities. If everyone in this world engages fully in Krishna consciousness and ceases to work for sense gratification, this entire world will immediately become spiritual. Jai, these are not just words that Srila Prabhupada is just, can't even say throwing. This is really a fact. Jai. Therefore, it is necessary to learn how to work for the satisfaction of Krishna. This requires a little time to understand. If something is used for Krishna's satisfaction, it is spiritual. Since we are using microphones, typewriters, etc., in order to talk and write about Krishna, they become spiritualized. What is the difference between prasad and ordinary food? Some people may say, "What is this prasad? We are eating the same food. Why do you call it prasad?" It is prasad because it has been offered for Krishna's satisfaction, and thus it has become spiritualized. In a higher sense, there is no matter at all. Everything is spiritual. Because Krishna is spiritual and matter is one of the energies of Krishna, matter is also spiritual. Krishna is totally spiritual, and spirit comes from the spirit. However, because the living entities are misusing this energy, that is, using it for something other than Krishna's purposes, it becomes materialized, and so we call it matter. The purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement is to re-spiritualize this energy. It is our purpose to re-spiritualize the whole world, socially and politically. Wow, Haribol. Of course, this may not be possible, but it is our ideal. At least if we individually take up this re-spiritualization process, our lives become perfect. In Bhagavad-gītā 9.22, Krishna says that he provides for his devotees by giving them what they lack and preserving what they have. People are very fond of saying that God helps those who help themselves. But they do not understand that helping yourself means putting yourself under Krishna's protection. If one thinks, "Oh, I can help myself, I can protect myself," one is thinking foolishly. As long as my finger is attached to my body, it is useful, and I may spend thousands of dollars to preserve it. But if this finger is cut off, it is useless and is thrown away. Similarly, we are part and parcel of Krishna, and helping ourselves means putting ourselves in our proper position as his parts and parcels. Otherwise, we are only fit to be cast away. The finger can help itself only when situated properly on the hand and working on behalf of the entire body. If the finger thinks, "I will separate myself from this body and simply help myself," that finger will be cast away and will die. As soon as we think, "I shall live independently of Krishna," that is our spiritual death. And as soon as we engage in Krishna's service, as his part and parcel, that is our spiritual life. Therefore, helping oneself means knowing one's actual position and working accordingly. It is not possible to help oneself without knowing one's position. Service means activity, for when we serve someone, we are acting. When we serve Krishna, we are preaching Krishna consciousness, or cooking, or cleansing the temple, or distributing books about Krishna, or writing about him, or shopping for foodstuff to offer to him. There are many ways to serve. Helping Krishna means acting for him, not sitting down in one place and artificially meditating. Krishna consciousness means activity. Whatever assets we have should be utilized for Krishna. That is the process of bhakti yoga. Krishna has given us a mind, and we must utilize this mind to think of Krishna. We have been given these hands, and we must use them to wash the temple or cook for Krishna. We have been given these legs, and we should use them to go to the temple of Krishna. We have been given a nose, and we should use it to smell the flowers that have been offered to Krishna. Through the process of bhakti yoga, we engage all these senses in the service of Krishna, and in this way, the senses are spiritualized. In Bhagavad-gītā, Arjuna was refusing to act, and Krishna was inspiring him to engage in activity. The entire Bhagavad-gītā is an inspiration to work, to engage in Krishna consciousness, to act on the behalf of Krishna, on Krishna's behalf. Hare Krishna. Krishna never tells Arjuna, "My dear Arjuna, don't concern yourself with this war. Just sit down and meditate upon me." This is not the message of Bhagavad-gītā. We are not to refrain from all activity, but only from those activities that impede our consciousness of Krishna. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activity. Those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness are constantly working for Krishna. A mother tells only her bad child to sit down and do nothing. If a child can do nothing but disturb his mother, the mother says, "My dear child, just sit down there and keep quiet." But if the child can work nicely, the mother says, "My dear child, will you please help me do this? Will you go over there and do that?" Sitting still in one place is just for those who do not know how to work sensibly. As long as the child sits in one place, he does not raise havoc. Sitting still means negating nonsense. It is not possible. It is not positive. Sitting still means negating nonsense. It is not positive activity. In negation, there is no life. Positive activities constitute life, and positive activity is the message of Bhagavad-gītā. Spiritual life is not "don't do this." Spiritual life is "do this." In order to act properly, there are certain things that one must know not to do, and there are certain things that are forbidden. The whole Bhagavad-gītā, however, is do. Krishna says, "Fight for me." At the beginning of Bhagavad-gītā, when Arjuna told Krishna, "I will not fight," Śrī Kṛṣṇa said, and this will be our cliffhanger, what Śrī Kṛṣṇa said when Arjuna said, "I will not fight." So thank you so much for tuning in today. The link to this book is in the description, and we shall see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.